Hi, I'm Obsessing Again. Today, I'm diving into the well-crafted world of Bioshock. Bioshock is a game oozing in style. My first interaction with it was recently in the Bioshock collection. Despite the game coming out 17 years ago, the gameplay still packs a punch and feels fresh, though I believe this is secondary to the expansive city of Rapture and the world building that it's created. The game's opening shows you plunging into the sea from a plane accident. As you swim to a lighthouse, you seep into the underwater world known as Rapture. The setting of Rapture lives up to the definition. Music echoing the halls of what would have been bustling shopping streets, or the lights that radiate the sentiment of being in the Big Apple. The term Big Apple was coined in the 1920s and was popularised amongst jazz musicians. But despite the desolate setting of this underwater Big Apple, it is more blues than jazz. That brings us to the 1920s Art Deco inspired buildings and general design. The Rapture is defined as a feeling of intense pleasure or joy, and the Art Deco movement was inspired by the 1920s and the bubbling success of economic growth, which led to it being known as the Roaring Twenties. Like the USA, subsequently, after this period came the Great Depression, and like Rapture, so did its glories come to a grinding halt. For all its affluence, the grime and intoxication of its existing residents make Rapture a bleak setting. The oddly claustrophobic glass corridors convey an impression of being a caged animal within the ocean. Looking out at the sea, you're wistful over the neon signs of shops which are distorted by the bubbles and motion of the ocean. Rapture is a microcosm to the United States World War II era of propaganda, proudly displaying advertising that harkens to traditional family types such as the nuclear family, and marketing inspiring the housewives of looking after the home, reinforcing Western values of its time. The Big Daddies, kitted out in their deep-sea diving inspired look, with the murmurs of little sisters, is a haunting pairing. The Big Daddies are put in these suits because they are deemed as human undesirables of Rapture. Whether they were criminals or insane, they were given maintenance tasks. Gradually, their anatomy and bodily functions morphed into suit and subsequently created a dissociation from themselves. What's deeply scarring about them is their bloated orca whale noises that echo in the distance. This alone is more unnerving than how they stagger heavily along hallways until they spring into action in defense of the Little Sisters.
No!
Da 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 da! Presto, presto! No! I'm trying. Please.
Once again, young Fitzpatrick.
Soundtrack dissonance provides the unnerving shootouts in glitzy bar rooms as the speakers echo a chirpy Bobby Darin song. Necking a bottle of some alcoholic beverage whilst having shootouts in bars. The jazz numbers harken back to the era of gramophone records as they're playing out in empty stores. The crackling in the records provides a feeling of warmth, which is an alien feeling in this story. What is also more striking is how the game doesn't appear to have any invisible walls like the games even today have. A conscious effort of design is implemented by giving you access to freely roam the streets of the city. By giving you endless rooms to explore, secret hatches, and levels of detail waiting for you to uncover. Bioshock creator Ken Levine was insistent on making you feel immersed in Rapture. Rapture does a lot to carry the story, as it's a character within itself. If you can't warm or engage with its colourful and extravagant city design, then why would you listen to the orders given you by other characters? Unless they ask you kindly.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly find it? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Bioshock doesn't consist of many main character models, but it has an ensemble of characters who are referenced in audio logs. The recurring character throughout the story is Andrew Ryan. Visually, Andrew Ryan is a throwback to an era of conniving, mustache-twirling villains. His personality, however, is more complex. The game creator cited three people in inspiration behind his character design. Firstly, Howard Hughes. His illustrious business enterprise was dominating the skies as well as the pockets of gamblers on land. As he got older, he became more withdrawn and helped launch Las Vegas into the entertainment capital as we know it to be today. These tendencies in his later life are seen in how Andrew Ryan isolates himself at the heart of Rapture after the Civil War. The second is Walt Disney, the man whose image was carefully crafted around an enterprise based on a mouse and would beacon Disneyland as surface-level utopia to some. Walt's similar view on life was stated when he said, "You can design and create and build the most wonderful place in the world. But it takes people to make a dream a reality, and that's where Rapture is a sobering reality." Though one of these is more successful than the other, the creator of this character, Ken Levine, cites Ayn Rand as the main inspiration. Ayn Rand was a Russian writer and philosopher who coined the philosophical view of objectivism. Objectivism can be simply defined as doing acts that benefits oneself and relying upon oneself. Ayn Rand's niche beliefs were manifested in her books, and they became a key inspiration to not only Andrew Ryan's Rapture, but the overall game. The idea of objectivism and the stark contrast of how it's implemented only highlights how flawed this belief system is. Her inspiration seeps into other characters, with Atlas being named after her book Atlas Shrugged, which foreshadows Atlas's arc along with her previous book, The Fountainhead, with the game's overall plot follows loosely.
You ooze in like an assassin, and then you try to sneak out like a thief. You're no CIA spook. Who are you? Why have you come here?
Like Rapture to begin with, Plasmids were once deemed as a way to enhance your life in the form of abilities. Initially, they were beneficial shortcuts, but the severe side effects of addiction and hallucinations infested the world of Rapture. Humans thrived together, and the isolating nature of Rapture led to psychological damage. Confined environmental psychosis, which is defined as being in a small place for too long, caused tension, and with the severe social class struggle, caused a civil unrest, headed by two magnates in Andrew Ryan and Jack Fontaine. Fontaine's entrepreneurial mindset of capitalising on Adam normalised excessive use of gene splicing. The wake of the Civil War left a legacy of spicers, people who had been far removed from their human self and existed for the means of acquiring Adam. With steampunk-inspired weapon upgrades and an arsenal of plasmids, gives it the edge to your typical first-person shooter. The plasmids provide not only an exciting addition to the gameplay, but also an equally impactful narrative point. What started for the residents of Rapture as indulging in enhancing themselves, which could be the 21st century equivalent of veneers and cosmetic surgery, took a dark turn when it was evident that plasmids had severe side effects. The dystopia of Rapture is how Andrew Ryan prided the values of his city on objectivism. In his opening speech about
"Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow?" "No," says the man in Washington, "it belongs to the poor." "No," says the man in the Vatican, "it belongs to God."
And yet, instead of a free market economy, Ryan controlled the Rapture as a monopoly. By restricting trade from people on land and potential execution for bribes brought into his city, objectivism championed self-interest, but it also created even bigger class discrepancies, creating more tension in the claustrophobic world. And the emergence of genetically spicing with Adam meant the people had taken Andrew Ryan's belief set in vain. The civilians leaned too deeply into the city's meaning of indulgence by taking the concoction of gene splicing to the extreme. And yet, for Andrew Ryan's beliefs, a city where the artist would not fear the censor, he feared the opposing views which could rock the boat. In the words of Bobby Darin,
"No more sailing, so long sailing, bye-bye sailing."
thank you for letting me obsess again.